Hello, you're here with Elizabeth again. Are you ready for chapter 2 of Jemima Small? Let's get to it. Chapter 2 is Zero Value. It was the first day of year 8 when it happened. Dad woke me up by shouting my name up the stairs over and over again and making threats like, "Jemima, get out of bed now, or I'm taking you to school in your pajamas." Like I needed another reason for people at school to say stuff about me. I put my uniform on and looked in the mirror on my bedroom wall. Even wearing my long black pleated skirt, my calves looked too convex, and my stomach bulged out, even though I spent ages trying to tuck in my shirt to hide it. Nana had told me I'd lose the puppy fat around my face ages ago, but it was still there, creating a semicircle dimple under my chin like a second smile. Maybe it would vanish this year, or maybe Nana had just lied. My hair was also a major problem. It was the exact color of the sludgy sand under the pier. I pulled my phone out of its charger and Googled hair dyes. Every color was named after something amazing sounding. Honey fire, champagne silk, natural gold. They didn't sell hair dye in my shade, probably because sludgy sand isn't exactly aspirational. I had award certificates and commendations from Clifton Academy up on my pinboard. Each one said, "Aspire to achieve," and there was a little gold medal at the top. But brains aren't aspirational either. Brains have precisely zero value at my school. Besides, they're not even visible from the outside. Dad yelled, "Hurry up!" even though there was still ages before the bus. I practiced facial expressions in the mirror for a while, then took a step back and examined my face again. It definitely looked asymmetrical. I Googled asymmetrical face. The top result said, "Do you need facial surgery?" I sighed and started putting my books in my rucksack. My dad would never pay for facial surgery. He told me off in the supermarket last week because I put a tea tree cleansing mask in the trolley. It's like he actually wanted me to get spots. There's this other operation called liposuction where they suck all of the fat out of your body. It's good, but you can end up with loads of extra skin, like my Nana. She has loose skin that hangs around her neck and the tops of her arms. Feels really soft squishing into you when she gives you a hug. I don't know for sure where her extra skin came from. I don't think she had liposuction. Maybe it was just natural shrinkage. "Dad, I need some money, please," I said as soon as I got downstairs. Dad handed me a box of cereal, but said nothing, so I carried on. "For hair dye. It's a human rights issue." I'd read all about human rights ages ago after Dad made me do the washing up 3 nights in a row. Just for informing Jasper that naming the magic show he did spectacular was a breach of the Trade Descriptions Act. No one in my family has a sense of humor or cares about human rights. "I think 10 pounds should cover it," I said, pouring Rice Krispies into a bowl. "I don't want a cheap one because my hair might fall out." Dad didn't even look up from his art and design magazine. "Or I might get an anaphylactic shock." Dad started humming. "That's when your face and throat swell up and you can die, by the way," I said. Dad casually turned a page in his magazine. "I could have an anaphylactic shock for real and he probably wouldn't even notice." "Dad, the hair dye. I want to get it this week. I'll accept an advance on my pocket money." Dad sighed extra loudly. Sighing extra loudly is my dad's thing. That and doing the look. If he does them both at the same time, then you know it's serious. Last term, this girl in my year, Pippa Williams, was picking teams for rounders. She looked directly at me and said she didn't want a hippo on her team. I told her hippos can actually run faster than humans and that I didn't want to be on a team with someone whose brain resembled a fruit fly's. We both got in trouble with Miss Newton for that. She told us to apologize to each other. I said it wasn't my fault Pippa Williams was extramentitious. Miss Newton looked the word up on her phone, then said she'd be telling my dad about my attitude. Like he didn't know about it already. I got the look and the extra loud sighing pretty badly when I got home that day. "Jemima, hair dye is not a human right," Dad said. "It is for people with hair the color of mine." I smiled my best smile, the one I'd been practicing in the mirror. He only looked up for a fraction of a second. Clearly, I needed some more smiling practice. There's nothing wrong with your hair," he said. So I sighed extra loudly. And then Dad gave me the look. "Dad, I inherited this hair color from you, so I think it's only right you pay for me to change it to super luminous honey blonde." Dad gave me the look again. You're too young to dye your hair. I'm almost 13. Anyway, there isn't an age limit on hair dye. If you'd started dyeing my hair years ago, then maybe it wouldn't have got this bad. Dad closed his magazine and took a deep breath. I thought he might finally be listening to reason. He wasn't. Well, I think it's a nice color. Same as mine, right? Honestly, Dad, I think yours would look a lot better if it was a light mahogany brown. Dad laughed and shook his head. Anyway, it will probably start turning gray soon, so you should let me stock up for you. Jemima, I do not need to dye my hair, thank you very much, and neither do you. It looks nice natural. I sighed and pushed my Rice Krispies down into my milk with my spoon. You don't get it, Dad. You have to dye your hair to make it look natural. You're not allowed to dye your hair. School rules. The annoying invention called my brother. Jasper thinks he can boss me about even though he's only 19 months older. Hurry up, Jemima. I don't want to be late on the first day back. Jasper looked at his reflection in the mirror in the living room and straightened his tie. He had the beginnings of a mustache forming, like deliberately. School is a lot more serious for me this year. I'm officially in the upper school and I'm starting my GCSEs, you know. He licked his 2 forefingers, smoothed them over his eyebrows, and looked at me through the bead curtain. It's not playtime anymore. Did you hear that, Jemima? Dad said. I hope you'll take a leaf out of Jasper's book. No, thanks, I muttered. I'd probably catch something. I don't want any phone calls about your attitude this year, Jemima, Dad said. Well, that's easy. Just switch your phone off. I beamed a full smile at Dad. He gave me a super strength version of the look. You know what I mean, he said, and collected his paintbrushes from the pot on the drainer. My dad's an artist, but not the kind that earns lots of money. He paints shop signs and fancy window frames and stuff like that. The best thing he's done was years ago when the council commissioned him to paint the map of Clifton-on-Sea on this huge wooden board on the promenade to celebrate the pier turning 100 years old. Dad painted dolphins in the sea and a basking shark and people eating candy floss along the promenade. If you look really closely, you can see me and Jasper playing in the rock pools with Mum holding our hands and Dad sitting on a rock nearby. We're tiny, just colored dots really, so you wouldn't know it was us unless my dad told you. I always look at it when we go to the beach, but Dad doesn't. He doesn't like talking about Mum, or even looking at her painted as a tiny pink and turquoise dot. I promised Dad I'd make mature decisions this year, then headed upstairs to brush my teeth. Dépêche-toi, Jemima, Jasper shouted after me. He always tells me to hurry up in French. It's one of the ways he shows off. Our mums half French, so we both spoke it when we were little, apparently, although I can't remember that much. Jasper's won the French prize every year at Clifton Academy. It's sort of cheating because he's a quarter French, so it's an unfair advantage. Also, he overpronounces a French accent, and it's really annoying. Jasper shouted, Dépêche-toi, again, so I shouted a French swear word back at him. Not a bad one, but Dad's voice immediately came booming up the stairs. Jemima, do not use that language. I leaned over the banister and said, You mean French? The blood vessels in Dad's eyeballs looked like they were about to burst. You know exactly what I mean. Don't swear at your brother in any language. You shouldn't even know those words. Tell that to Monsieur Poussin, I said. People write them in his textbooks. Then I got doubly told off for calling Mr. Picard that. Like it's my fault his classroom smells of fish. We arrived at the bus stop just as the bus was pulling in. I hated getting on the bus because people always stared. I held my rucksack in front of my stomach and let Jasper get on first. I sat on the first empty seat I could find. I hated walking down the bus aisle. There were always a few people who kind of gawped at me. If there wasn't an empty seat, I'd spend the entire journey with my legs squeezed together, trying to shrink myself into the side of the bus, or half hanging off the seat, worried the person next to me might say I was taking up too much space. I'd always try to be first on the bus on the way home, but we're the third stop in the morning, so people had already got the best seats. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and messaged my friend Miki to say I'd meet him by the front gates. Miki started Clifton Academy halfway through year 7 because his parents got divorced, so he moved here with his mom. It was about the same time my best friend Alina decided to drop me for Lottie Freeman. We'd been friends since primary school, but I guess there's only so long you can hang around with Jemima Big before you realize your life would be a lot easier if you didn't. Miki didn't know anyone at Clifton Academy, and the only spare seat in our form class was the one next to mine, so I suppose we became best friends by accident. But it was a serendipitous kind of accident because Miki is the best person I know. even though he hates maths. My phone beeped with Miki's reply. Okay, yawn. If I'd known what was going to happen at school that morning, I'd have slammed my hand on the stop button above my head. But it would have been pointless. Our bus driver ignores it when people do that. It's like my Auntie Luna says, you cannot escape your destiny. Jasper said she stole it from Star Wars. I think Star Wars stole it from this ancient Greek writer called Sophocles. Anyway, it's true. And unfortunately, that day my destiny was the equivalent of a giant sinkhole. That's the end of chapter 2.